everybody, it's Professor Milan with another overview. This week, we're working on the research project rationale and draft. You'll also be reviewing the works in progress of your classmates. So I want you to remember to provide helpful feedback or ask questions that will help your peers to revise their projects. You'll also have the opportunity to learn a little bit about US copyright laws, Creative Commons, and the ethical use of online image searching. This is especially important if you are doing one of the more alternative routes for your research project. If you're just writing an essay, this won't really pertain to you. It's still good information to know further on down the road when you might have to use images and other things within your research and within any kind of presentation. So this information just covers all of that for you. So for the readings, let's take a look here at these links. First, I have some research presentation project examples. And this is just a page where I have a bunch of links. Hopefully they all worked. The last time I looked through them, they were still functioning. So some of these are research projects. They're called recast projects that students in past UC English 1001 have done. They're not from my class. They're from people who teach on the main campus, but it's still this idea of doing a multimedia or multimodal type of presentation. There are 4 videos, and they're all of different types of research. So it's not they're focusing on happiness, but some of them can be kind of related to happiness. This one, Can Social Networking Cause Eating Disorders, is an interesting one. If you are interested in the effect of technology on young people. There are some multimodal recasts from other colleges and universities. We have, again, another video. There is a podcast, so you can see what goes into making a podcast. I think this is hosted on SoundCloud. There is also a Prezi presentation with a voiceover, so that's kind of an example of how you could use a slide presentation and do a voiceover and record it as a, I don't know if it's recorded as a video or what, but they use the Prezi slide presentation. I guess it would be a website where you host your Prezi slides. So Prezi is interesting because it's a little more visually appealing than a plain old slide deck from PowerPoint or Google Slides. So if you're interested in Prezi, you can click on this, look at this Prezi presentation, and learn a little bit more about what Prezi does for presentations. And lastly, there is a video somebody did on the NCAA versus education. This is a video that was probably done a few years ago, probably before the whole name, likeness, and image stuff has been passed through, and athletes can now get compensated for those kinds of things. So it's interesting, to say the least, money game. So I just present this for you as examples of a variety of different formats that you could present your research. The next link here, copyright, fair use, and Creative Commons. Wow, why can't I speak today? So this takes you through some information. There are some embedded videos, at least one. Yeah, 2. They're fairly short videos. And then there's information at the bottom of the page about searching for images online. You can do reverse image searches and how you can look for things on Google to make sure that they are not licensed or copyrighted. So if it's, if it has a Creative Commons license, you can usually use it. There's also information on the Library of Congress digital collections. Many museums have art collections that allow fair use for educational purposes. So for our purposes here, yes, it is educational. So you can use that kind of stuff. So just take your time to look through all of that information. And then we have citing your sources. What is common knowledge? Hopefully this link works. Yes, okay. So there is a video here, and this might be from the plagiarism, I'm not sure. But you can open the video up full screen here. It's a short video, only a little bit over a minute, telling you what common knowledge is. So obviously common knowledge is not something that you have to cite, right? So basic facts like water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. We all, that's assumed to be common knowledge. It's not something that you had to look up in a reference. And most people know these things, right? Barack Obama was the president of the United States. Again, you don't have to cite a source for that. That is common knowledge. So it's information shared by a cultural or national group, such as names of famous heroes or events in the nation's history, so on and so forth. So make sure you read through that as well. And lastly, we have the research project recast rationale example. So this is an example for the rationale that is being assigned for this week. So let's take a look at that. This is actually from a book. I don't know if I have a copy of it up here in this office. I have it somewhere. Oh, I do. This is the cover of this is likely to, oh, it isn't. So this is a student guide to English composition 1001. This is a student guide that is sometimes published by UC, and it has example papers in it that students can see. I don't assign it, or I don't make my students buy it because I never know if it's going to be available. Which years it's available. I think they publish in alternate years. So you can read through this. This is a good model of how to write your rationale for your research project. It's essentially making the argument for your research project. This student wrote 2 pages, and then there's an example of the student's brochure that they made. So the first page of it, and then the second page of it. And the citation here of where this came from, this is from 2015, but this is an actual student's work that they permitted UC to publish in this book. So it's a good example, so you get some idea of what I'm expecting you to do here in the rationale. So let's go take a look at that assignment page, right? So we have some background for the research project. You've been working through a variety of steps. I've broken it down into little steps so it's not as overwhelming. So you have chosen your topic and you came up with a proposal with some research questions. You have done the source evaluation for 2 sources. You've done an annotated bibliography of 8 sources. You have written an introduction, a thesis, and an outline. And so now we're moving into the drafting phase. We have the research project peer review as well as the revision. So you've done the research and now you are going to create a presentation for your research. How you want to do that is up to you. So I am thinking most students are going the traditional essay route, which is 8 to 10 pages. And in the explanation last week of the various requirements for the various formats of these choices that you could use as your research project, you know what's expected. So the requirements for this rationale and the rough draft, that's what's due this week. You're going to choose either formal essay, slide presentation, whatever. Choose your format, right? And then read through the project requirements to make sure that you are absolutely familiar with what your genre is requiring of you. You're going to have a working title. You will write a 1 to 2 page rationale that explores your project's purpose, the form or the medium or genre that you have chosen, the audience that you are hoping to reach, the audience that it's projected towards, and the rhetorical choices you will make in creating the project. So, in effect, the rationale is going to make, as I said before, an argument about the project's purpose and effectiveness. You do not have to include an example. If you have it, that's fantastic, because that would be then your draft. But I provided the example on the example sheet so that you had some idea of what the student was talking about in their rationale. You had something to refer to. We will also have a properly formatted works cited or works consulted list of at least 8 sources used for your research. Most of those probably were listed in your annotated bibliography. Remember, you use those same citations, you just remove the annotation. Don't include the annotated information that you did use for your annotated bibliography in your works cited list. We just want those citations. Your draft doesn't have to be a full version of the final project, but I want to see forward progression. So you have to provide some material for me and your peers to review so that we can provide feedback and some suggestions. So a file or a link that can be accessed by others. If you're using an outside source to host your materials like YouTube or some other website, you need to make sure that it can be viewed by the public or by a person who has that link. If you're uploading a file, make sure it isn't specific to your operating system. I cannot say this enough. It needs to be readable by others. So you need to go with the more generic file formats like PDF, MP4, and JPG, because those tend to be less problematic for the generic user than a specific pages, dot pages, or dot .mov, or a HEIC file. Those tend to be unreadable within Canvas itself. Canvas doesn't like them. Sometimes it will translate, but other times it will not. So you have to make sure that everybody will be able to, the people who need to access your files can actually access and read your files. So that means you need to do the work of creating it as a PDF or an MP4, saving it and uploading it as a readable file. So stick with those more generic file formats. I apologize to those of you who are Apple users, but I live in a Microsoft Word, and Canvas tends to not play well with Apple specific files, if that makes any sense. So, just save yourself the trouble of having to upload and then figure out how to make it a readable file format and then upload again after I've emailed you and said, hey, I can't read your file, because you need your work to be read by me, of course, right? All right, so things you can submit. It can be a website URL, a media recording, or a file upload. Again, those can be uploaded. You know how to do it. And there is a rubric here below that tells you what I'm looking for as far as the research project rationale. So make sure you have a working title, you have the rationale that's 1 to 2 pages, you have a works cited page, and that your project draft is at least halfway. You're at the halfway point, at least. So again, if you're writing an essay, you provide at least 4 pages. If you're doing slides, 4 slides, 4 minutes, have some kind of rough script. You get the idea. So those are the elements I will be looking for in this assignment. Let's go back to the module here. Scroll, scroll, scroll. And let me see if there's anything else. Oh, yes, of course. Keep up with your reading annotations. If you have any other annotations that you need to or would like to submit, make sure you get those in. I think this is the last week I'm requiring any annotations because we will be drafting and reviewing and revising, and then we'll be done. Uh, we only have a couple of weeks left, so if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. That's why I'm here. I'm happy to help you and walk you through anything that might be confusing. Hopefully I've explained it all, but you never know. Okay, so have a fantastic week, and I look forward to reading your drafts. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.